so much for this. Monumental Offices, owners of the Washington Capitals. I'm in your old hood, Wish. I'm in your old haunt right now, Washington, D.C. This is when you and I first got to know each other. You were living in Virginia, I believe, and covering Caps on the regular. Back in
So the one of the origin stories of your boy is I was working at a newspaper and doing high school sports, running up and down the sidelines with a point and click camera during football games, hoping I got one good shot to use in the newspaper that week. And one of the reasons why I became a hockey writer is because in the early Ovechkin days, the Washington Capitals were the least covered team in Washington, D.C. They just did not have any people coming to the games. Fan-wise, the press box was pretty empty. They weren't getting a lot of real estate in the Washington Post. So what Ted Leonsis did in his genius is he created something called the blog box. And he started inviting bloggers who at the time were a burgeoning alternative media, myself, Japers Rink, other places like that, and invited us to start covering the games like as credentialed media. And a smart move by him, one, because it got his team more coverage direct to the people and not having to worry about the Washington Post gatekeeping hockey. And then two, I mean, in a lot of cases, he's giving partisan audiences access to games and the players themselves. And I think that's only going to curry favor in many cases with some of the media that cover the team. But it was great. It's where I cut my teeth in a press box, and I'll always be grateful to Ted for that.
Great spot. And how can you leave out Ted's take? The owner of the Washington Capitals communicating directly with Caps fans and with hockey fans. Like we would always wait. Okay, when's Ted's take coming out? Because it was so revolutionary. And you and I would talk about Ted's take on the OG MVSW like with regularity. I would love it if there were owners that did I don't know. I'll just pick an owner randomly. Francesco's take or whomever around the NHL. Love to have something.
Which owner would you like to read the most? Francesco's probably the one because
Francesco.
He's already pretty active on Twitter, doing stuff. Like Cates would be interesting, I think, right? Or
Cates would be great. Ryan Smith, I think, would be good too. I get the feeling that somewhere down the road here, as there's a sort of new it was really important for the NHL to bring in Ryan Smith specifically. One, because he's got deep pockets, loves the sport, can grow it in Utah, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that's that new breed of sports owner that grew up with the internet. There's a demarcation for people and listen, I was one of the dinosaurs. I remember a world without the internet. But there's a whole generation of owners now that have grown up with the internet and the possibility of what the internet can bring. And I think that's why somewhere down the road here, we will see someone else do Ted's take.
The answer is just two answers. One is Tom Ghilardi with the Dallas Stars, because every time I hear that guy on the radio, it's always pretty interesting. And I feel like I'd love to read a blog from Tom Ghilardi the day after they lose in the conference final for the fourth straight years. That's what I want to read. The other one, obviously, and this is this is the one I think we would probably most want to read, would be the James Dolan blog for the New York Rangers. I think that'd be pretty amazing. He could structure it like a Mark Maron podcast where he begins with a monologue, then he plays a little guitar. Then he interviews Henrik Lundqvist. Give me the James Dolan content.
That's good content for someone down the road. Which are the owners you would much like to hear or read a Ted's take from? Let's get right to it. We got a special guest coming up at the bottom of the hour. Let's let you know what's going on the program today. Thanks so much for joining us here on The Sheet. And the Blueprint, as always, is powered by FanDuel. Download the app today and play your game on FanDuel. Greg Wyshynski is aboard. It is Thursday after all, and Tuesdays and Thursdays we bring aboard our man from ESPN and ESPN.com. We will talk about I don't know, straight-legging it in your own zone. We'll talk about JT Miller and the New York Rangers. We'll talk about, listen, everyone's having a whack at this pinata. Why should we be any different? We'll talk about the Oilers. I was at the game last night. Got a couple of thoughts about both teams. Tyler Johnson They recently retired Tyler Johnson, who is kind of in a really unique club here. And we'll talk about the Bolts and Kucherov and Chicago and Bedard with Tyler Johnson, his former teammates. He's won everywhere. He won the Memorial Cup when he played with the Western Hockey League with Spokane. He won the Calder Cup with Norfolk, and he won the Stanley Cup with the Tampa Bay Lightning, not once but twice. And even the Canadian, I've blocked this out of my memory. He also won the World Juniors with Team USA back in 2010. Although, in my mind, that never existed, and it never happened. Yes.
You're treating it like it's some sort of rarity that the Americans win a World Juniors, when in actuality it's become commonplace.
It does happen, although I do have a this.
I don't appreciate you talking about the Americans winning World Juniors like Latvia got one over on you. You know, we stand toe to toe with you now as a hockey nation, as we'll see in Italy next year, sir.
Yeah, you had your Guzlevskis moment, stealing games and stealing championships from those good, honest, hardworking Canadian young men. We shall see. So a couple of things. Like, where do you want to begin on this one? Like, we have a sort of full buffet of things to talk about. There's action from last night. There's the remains of the day from the visuals of JT Miller and the New York Rangers and everybody having a swing at this one. You want to just start there?
Let's start with Miller. Like, so. Do we have the footage there, Zach, or any of the footage? Because I don't know if you've got the actual footage or the Sean Avery commentary version of the footage when it comes to JT Miller. But
I have
the
both.
Rangers. Give me the Avery, because I think that covers both of it. So this is Rangers Golden Knights the other night and JT Miller on the ice.
All right, watch this shit show. Quick up, Igor Shesterkin to JT Miller. Follow the pointer stick. JT, dump the puck in. No, Mika, turnover. Kiss of death. Turnovers at the offensive blue line. Then we're going to watch JT, bottom of the screen, 8 White, captain of the New York Rangers. Come in. All right, he's the low guy, responsible. Okay. Oh, and then stick check 1, overskate. Here we go, no man's land. And then look at this. Look at the straight-legged fuck right there. 5-hole goal.
Look, I'm not an Avery fan, but you have to hand it to him sometimes. And I do love the little pointer bit that he does. I also love the fact that his pronunciation of Igor Shesterkin was as if he had never seen a Russian name before. I appreciated that. It was a fantastic pronunciation. But again, like, you know, so Miller's getting it. And listen, there's a lot of guys in this league that eventually get the PlayStation controller unplugged moment where somebody captures it during a game, and then it becomes a viral thing on social media, calling out the player for a lack of effort. I think the issue here with JT Miller is twofold. One, he's having a terrible season right now for the Rangers insofar as his offensive production, nowhere near the levels like it was in the previous seasons. But two, as Avery noted in a very sarcastic way, he's the captain of the New York Rangers. He was given the C over a guy like Vincent Trocheck, for example, who would have been the guy I chose to be captain. I thought he earned the C in the way that he played for the Rangers. But Miller was given the captaincy, Merrick, because of the way he plays the game, the ferocity, the north-south of it all, the way he competes. He's the model. He's the North Star that we want all the ships to sail towards when it comes to the New York Rangers. And when you see the guy floating around straight-legged like that on a play in his own defensive zone, it becomes antithetical to all of the reasons why JT Miller is the captain of the New York Rangers.
I want to swing back to the New York of this all and the JT Miller of this all, but is this one of those trades, in your opinion? I was talking about this about a month ago or a couple of weeks ago, actually, with on the Sekeres and Price show. We hear so much about we're making trades that are going to help both teams. Like, whenever a trade is made, everyone on television is like, you know, this is smart. This is good for both teams. This is going to work out well. This is why it's good for Team X. This is why it's good for Team Y. It's a good trade that's going to help both teams. Is this a trade that's been bad for both teams? Not good for both teams, but like bad for both teams. And by the way, my thoughts, again, might be a little bit conspiracy theory-esque here, but my thought on JT Miller getting the captaincy, this was twofold. One, Drury brought him in and wants
Right.
him to have that captaincy. But two, it's also a rejection of what's gone on with those Rangers and that room and the grumbling and the complaining and the backbiting towards management from the last 2 seasons. And that is not going to get rewarded. To me, it's like the indication of like, all right, you know what? There's a new leader and he's come from the outside.
So
We didn't like the guys discussed and openly how we handled the Barclay Goodrow situation or the Jacob Trouba situation. That's kind of how I saw it.
I think that's an interesting comment because being in that room and covering the Rangers a bit, I could see how Trocheck could be roped into that group of players, predominantly led by Chris Kreider, who were very unhappy with Chris Drury, unhappy with the way that Gaudreau and Trouba were forced out, and now Kreider's not there either. So I could see your point that if you want a clean break, and if the whole point of it is to try to reshape your core in the likeness of someone like JT Miller, then you might as well not give the captaincy to somebody that's already there. That's part of the quote unquote problem, right? I get that. I think that's an interesting point. As far as the trade goes, I mean, we can't erase the fact that JT Miller was a better than point per game player for the Rangers last year. Like, he was great for them last year. Yep. I don't know what the malfunction is this year, other than to say that he's dealing with some different line mates, and in the case of Mika Zibanejad, a guy that has kind of lost the thread a little bit. You talk about guys that probably need to be shipped out because of the recent history of the team. It's probably Zibanejad. But somebody said this to me once, and it stuck with me about JT Miller. I don't even know. Maybe it was you. Who knows? He's the perfect guy that you want on a team that's successful. Like when things are going well, he's feeling good. He's playing his heart out. He's bleeding all. He's the give it 110%, drive 80 down the freeway type player that you want on a successful team, and that's the way he plays when the team is successful. When the team is not successful, then he's not the guy that you necessarily want. I listen, if the Vancouver Canucks were losing in the conference finals, I don't think that we have all that internal strife between those guys. It's probably a personal beef, but it probably never gets to the point of toxicity with him and Pettersson, right? But the team wasn't good. And then he goes to this Ranger team, and they're not good last year, but we expected it to be good this year, but then they're not very good again. Yeah. And now all of a sudden, he's getting straight-legged in his own zone. So I guess the sum total of that comment, Merrick, is it's a curious guy to make your captain. if he's like Mark Messier in the good times, and just like the shittiest captain of the league on the bad times.
But the thing is, like, that's why I think, like, putting the C on him in the first place was to signal that we will not stand for what you guys did. We will not stand for how you, caused a mutiny might be too strong, but I think you know what I'm going for here. And there was no way that anyone on that team, whether it was, Vincent Trocheck or anyone else, was going to get rewarded with that letter. I'm with you. Like, I thought Vincent Trocheck should have been the captain. I really do. But I don't think that Chris Drury was going to look at that team and say, I saw everything and I'm going to reward you for it. Not a chance. No way. And that was just things are changing
for Tyler. This might be a question for Tyler later, but I am listen, you mentioned all the owners being born of the internet age that we're having now. I mean, these guys that are playing in the league are born into the internet age. They see everything, and whatever they don't see, they get sent by their friends and by their former teammates and their colleagues. Like, they're aware of all the things that we are saying, and all of the videos that go viral, and all the videos in which Sean Avery is using a professorial pointer on his television. And so when something like this gets called out for a player like JT Miller, your captain, the fiery competitor, and he's straight-legged in his own zone, basically spectating a goal by the Golden Knights. Like, how does that play? Does anyone say anything to him in the Rangers room? Does he take it upon himself to say something? I've always been curious about that, because it's not like they're not. There's a zero-sum possibility that the entirety of the Rangers locker room is unaware of this clip. And then what happens when it does get noticed? I'm curious about
Yeah.
that.
Also, here's what I wonder. Did Bill Simmons just do the Columbus Blue Jackets a solid?
Oh, tell me why.
Drawing attention, whether it's a fan base, whether it's a hockey team, doesn't matter what it is. You give a team or a fan base an issue to be A, offended by, and B, inspired by. And the most recent example is Patrick Laine talking about how everybody, when he left Columbus for Montreal, I think the comments were something along the lines of, everybody there is just too comfortable with the losing. And then it's like immediately after Laine makes those comments, and the Blue Jackets went on a heater. Bill Simmons' comments about the Blue Jackets being the most irrelevant team in sports.
Yes,
that's an issue that is
came up.
That's gonna that's gonna go all through the room, all through the fan base, all of it. And now they have an issue. Like if I'm Dean Evison, I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna send him a Christmas card, but Bill, thanks for doing us a solid here. Thanks for doing us a solid.
Bill Simmons had a mailbag episode, and one of the things that was asked of him is who is the most irrelevant team in sports. And I believe that the mailbag questioner was in fact a Columbus fan and was wondering if it was in fact the Blue Jackets. And Bill Simmons said, and I quote, "I've never heard a single conversation about the Blue Jackets. Now, granted, I don't have a ton of hockey fans in my life, but I've never heard a single convo about them." And so, because he's not heard conversations about him, that's one thing. But what Simmons did, and this is why Simmons is Simmons, he then went through the litany of things that would make the Blue Jackets the most relevant team. Who is their best player in franchise history? It's Rick Nash. Rick Nash is not a legendary player in this league. Rick Nash, well, is he a Hall of Famer? Who's to say? I'd probably not, right? But so Rick Nash is part of it. The playoff history is part of it. Simmons, being Simmons, of course, said that the Blue Jackets swept the Florida Panthers and not the Tampa Bay Lightning, but that's probably the seminal moment in franchise history. He did bring up Johnny Gaudreau and bring up some other things. The team that got mentioned the most as sort of the counterpoint to the Columbus Blue Jackets being the most irrelevant team in sports was the Sacramento Kings. And I found that comparison interesting for one reason, Merrick. The thing that Simmons didn't mention in his rant about Columbus was the thing that we all know best about the Blue Jackets, which is...
Do we know best about the Blue Jackets?
When I say Blue Jackets, what is the first thing you might think of? What is the thing that is the signature part of the Blue Jackets experience?
The cannon.
The cannon, exactly. So I find it interesting that the two arguably most irrelevant teams in sports, one of them has a giant cannon they shoot off when they succeed. The other one has a giant purple laser beam that they shoot into the sky when the team succeeds. They both have a gimmick that might be more memorable than anything that these two teams do in their given leagues.
Did I ever share with you what Doug MacLean told me about the cannon?
Please do.
He would always reject, like the Columbus Blue Jackets fans, booster clubs, like all these things would always like say, hey, we got to have a cannon, Civil War, got to have a cannon. We're going with the motif, we got to have a cannon after we score. And he hated the idea. Couldn't stand it, didn't want it in the rink, and always resisted. And when he realized he was about to be fired, I think it might have been his last official act as manager of the Columbus Blue Jackets, he approved the budget for the cannon. I think it was like a Starkey thing to do to the other people in the organization that also didn't want it. He approved the budget for the cannon. That was his final, like, peace out.
Funny.
Before he got fired.
That's really funny because one of our neighbors in our building is moving out, and on their way out, they've approved all the...
You have a cannon?
No, they haven't approved the cannon. Although I don't know, man. In New York, it might come in handy. They approved all of the construction things that they've never approved when they were living here for other people's apartments. They all signed off on it. It's like walking away from an explosion, basically. Good luck to the new tenants. Here's a giant deck blocking the sun from your apartment, and so on. So, anyways, I guess let me ask you this: do you think the Blue Jackets are the most irrelevant team in the NHL?
Okay, first of all, I don't want to get too semantic on this, but when you say irrelevant, what are you saying? Like, what does that word represent? Are they a team that has a history of like playoff failure? Well, yeah, this has not been a playoff juggernaut team at all. They've had a
Well,
hard time at the draft. They've had a hard time producing
le-
high-level teams, considering how long they've been in the NHL now. But I don't know if that. See, I have a hard time with the
well,
word irrelevant
well, let
because
me
why are
define it
Columbus
as
Blue
the
Jays
let me define it as
irrelevant?
the mailbag questioner defined it. Okay.
Okay.
They're too bad to make the playoffs, but not so bad they're top in the news with their total dysfunction. So they're a mediocre team that doesn't make the playoffs, but they're not a messy team. It's a team that's usually in a small market, bonus points if their location name is generic, like Golden State or New England. It's a team that makes you say, "Oh yeah, they still exist," when they're picking 8th in the draft.
So here's the thing. I am the absolute wrong person to ask this to
Mm.
because I'm too close to all of it. Like no team and
Yeah.
like there's never a moment where I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot the Columbus Blue Jackets exist. So I'm the absolute like this is more for a casual sports fan, which I think
Mhm.
is maybe what Bill Simmons is going for. But as
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned, like there are no irrelevant teams. But again, I'm like too close and deep to it because I think about the
I can
Columbus Blue
see
Jackets as much as I think about the Montreal Canadiens, the Los Angeles Kings, the Chicago Blackhawks. So to
easily.
me, they're not irrelevant because this is my life. So
They're all your children. They're all your children. Yeah, I mean,
my,
like I could see a casual
my
sports
uncle.
fan forgetting that Columbus exists because of how the lack of a deep playoff run, the fact that they've not really been, you know, noteworthy off the ice outside of the Johnny Gaudreau tragedy. I could see a casual sports fan seeing them in the same way that they see the Sacramento Kings or see the Jacksonville Jaguars, for example, who I think are a team that certainly fits the bill for me of sometimes I turn on my television at 9 o'clock on a Sunday and I'm like, oh wait, that's right, Jacksonville's playing in London. I think in NHL terms, if you had to pick one, it's probably them. With the caveat, and I don't mean to make these people angry at me again, because we already worked through the they should rebuild conversation we had last month. The Seattle
San
Kraken are
Jose
probably more
Shark.
relevant. No, the Seattle Kraken are more irrelevant than the Columbus Blue Jackets, but they're kind of new, and so maybe
Still
we
early,
give
yeah.
them a pass. But I
Still
kind of
early.
think that in and maybe this is East Coast bias too, but I think I probably think about the Blue Jackets more than I do the Kraken, if I'm being honest.
Uh, no, I keep going back to they're all my children. I can't like for me like there aren't irrelevant teams in the NHL in my life or in my profession. So again, like I
Yeah.
am the absolute wrong person to ask here.
Hmm.
That is for a casual hockey fan or a casual sports fan, not for me because I'm just like too deep into it.
But by the
But
way, irrelevance
again, like
is not a
I do think
negative.
this is like I was talking to Zach before the show, and he brought up a great point. This is kind of like when Don Cherry called the Carolina Hurricanes a bunch of jerks, and they leaned into it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is this something? Is this something? I saw the Grantland bit from the Columbus Blue Jackets social media administrator, which got a chuckle as well.
If
But like, is this
if
something
I'm
that
if I'm them, I create a Columbus Blue Jackets football jersey with Mr. Irrelevant on the back and I give it out to the player of the game. Like I lean into it that far. Like just do that stuff. You're completely right. But what I was going to say, Merrick, is that like the beauty of being irrelevant is that eventually you find relevance. And the beauty of being a losing team is that eventually, and I say this as a New York Jets fan,
you're a Jets fan?
eventually you find success. And when that moment comes, it feels so much more rewarding, I think, than if it's a team that's had constant success and then you jump up one year and you win. I think the highs and lows of sports are and the emotional swings of being
Yeah.
the welcome mat of the league and then finally winning is much more rewarding than anything else.
Okay, a couple of things here before we get to Tyler Johnson, who's stopping by in a couple of moments here. Listen, I was there to watch it last night. The Oilers are like no sugarcoating this. Like they're in a bad way right now. Oilers are having a hard time, and they're obviously like asking a lot of really difficult questions about a lot of key positions and a lot of key players on this team. 7-4. Listen, it's a pair of empty netters by Tom Wilson, but still, 7-4 is the final score. But to me, the moment of the game where I went, "Oh man, this is bad," is the second Ryan Leonard goal.
Oh my God, the Evan Bouchard play.
But it's not just Bouchard. Like, okay, so Leonard's cutting across as a right-hand shot. He's got some back pressure on him as well. It looks to me, and again, I'm not an NHL goaltender, but it looks to me like a pretty easy read. He's going backhand, but Skinner's frozen. Skinner's completely frozen, and it was at that moment where it's like, okay, it's not the only issue, but blue line and goaltending. And the other issue is, the lack of, depth scoring. But again, I saw it yesterday. It's almost like the entire Oilers team is just waiting for Connor and Leon to do something. Like, remember this? This used to be the Oilers. This was kind of, you know what this was? This was like the Oilers with Dave Tippett.
Right. You mentioned the other day, it felt like a Dave Tippett team.
Yeah. And it's like, this is like the Oilers, like everybody on the bench are quite content to say, don't worry, Connor and Leon are going to pull us out of this one. That they're going to do something in the third period and we're going to win. Yay. I got that feeling last night watching this game. I don't know if you watched it or how close you've watched the Oilers lately. Lost three out of the next four. The three out of the last four. You got Tampa and Florida on the horizon to finish up this road trip. But that's kind of how I feel about the Oilers. Again, they're back to that. Don't worry. Connor and Leon are going to solve this.
That's why the Corey Perry loss, I think, is so much more significant than anything else that happened in the offseason, and then that many of us anticipated. Because honestly, when you watched them last year, he was one of the few guys in that team that didn't feel like he was waiting for Connor and Leon. Like, Corey was the guy that was going to make a play when they needed it. And I think the loss of him really took away a huge part of that element. And you wouldn't expect that again. He's like 105 years old, but he certainly brought that to the team. The thing I thought you were going to talk about was the fact that Ryan Leonard, who can fit in your pocket like a talking mouse, muscled Evan Bouchard off on a break to the net. And it just, like, whenever I see Bouchard in a situation like that, I just think about, it brings up all the debates we've been having about this guy for the last several seasons about, like, what is he? Can we consider this guy elite when there are defensive deficiencies? People step up and be like, it's not as bad as you think. And then you watch a game and you see a turnover or you see a moment like that where, he's getting out muscled by Ryan Leonard. And you're just like, I mean, we're going to put that on the Olympic team. Like, I understand the offense. I do. I understand the shot. He's a very gifted player. Yep. But I mean, for all of the stereotypes that players like Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar have fought through as offensive defensemen to be like, hey, I'm not a one-trick pony. That's a one-trick pony. That man is a one-trick pony. That man is all O, no D. And I think that we bend over backwards to try to afford him some grace defensively because of how much he gets called out. But it's not even an Erik Karlsson situation from back in the day where his speed could help him overcome the mistakes that he made. I just think Bouchard's just a bad defender. And we saw it again last night on that Leonard goal.
Yeah. What's more concerning, because I go back and forth and mainly I'm defaulting to the goaltending here, the goaltending of the defense. Right? Like, there are times where Darnell Nurse looks overwhelmed. As you mentioned, there are times where Evan Bouchard looks overwhelmed. Well, but to me, so much of what happens in a game is based on, you can't let that goal go in. Like, that affects like the whole bench. To me, they got to do the goaltending. It's been this way for a while, but now it's considering the gift that Connor McDavid just gave them. They got to do the goaltending now.
I think it's clearly the goaltending, only because it's been a problem constantly through the years. And I think the problem with the defense right now is that you've got some guys that traditionally are better than they're playing, not playing well. I don't think Wallman's been good. I think Kulak's been real bad for them this year. And you don't normally see that from those guys or anticipate it from those guys in the case of Wallman, who's still pretty new to the team. So yeah, of course it's the goaltending. If they had some semblance of competency back there, it probably allows them to all exhale a little bit more on the bench, but it doesn't excuse how porous that defense has been in front of them.
Let me ask you something bluntly here. And again, this is not a report. This is just Greg and I on a Thursday afternoon throwing it around. And we're going to get to Tyler Johnson in 1 second after I have a look at the face of Greg Wyshynski after I bring this up. You know what the New Jersey Devils have on their blue line?
Yeah, what?
A lot of right-handed shots.
Mm-hmm.
Would you do Dougie Hamilton for Darnell Nurse? There is a background with Nurse and Sheldon Keefe going back to the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds of the OHL as well.
So you're saying that would relieve the log jam, right?
So all I'm saying is a lot of right-handed shots on the New Jersey Devils blue line.
I would say no to that for the simple fact, as I check just one thing real quick here, for the simple fact that Darnell Nurse is signed through 2030, whilst Dougie Hamilton is a free agent in 2028.
I understand it complicates with our favorite juicy topic in Vancouver.
No, I'm not even talking about the Quinn Hughes of it all. I'm just saying that contractually, I don't think the two things fit. And honestly, like, you know, I think Dougie Hamilton serves you some utility still for this hockey team, and the acquisition of somebody who everybody is basically trying to like run out of town is not all that awe-inspiring.
Okay, well, let's bracket
Plus,
that.
if I'm trading Hamilton, I'm trading him for a winger. Let's be honest.
Park it for 1 second. Let's bring aboard Tyler Johnson. He is a champion everywhere he's gone, even though I blanked it from my mind as a Canadian. He's won the World Juniors in 2010. He's won the Memorial Cup. He's won the Calder Cup. He's won the Stanley Cup. And he's coming over to the dark side. He is Tyler Johnson, ex-NHLer turned broadcaster here on the program. And we're just as we bring you on, Tyler, and welcome aboard, Greg and I are having the conversation that every hockey player hates hearing about. Trades. How often when you played, you're like, oh God, well, the media just shut up about trades already. We're gonna get your audio hot here. We're gonna fix your audio there, Tyler. Hang on 1 second. We'll get Tyler.
I like the background because it was black and white photos, and like then he pops, and here it's just like a mishmash of color behind me. And with you, it looks like you're in an aquarium. Right
look,
now, which is
like the sheet. I'm in like a nice little TV booth here at Monumental Sports, the Capital One Arena. No, it's a nice little spot for me.
The thing with TJ, man, it wasn't even like it was like trade rumors, and then it was the necessity of trading him or removing him from the Lightning roster for cap purposes. That's a different kind of stress than simple performance. That's always tough because then you feel like, all right, well. It doesn't matter what I do. I make too much money.
That's the listen. That's been the necessity. That was a necessity for the Tampa Bay Lightning for the longest time. Like that was that high wire act they had, which was how many guys can we remove? Chicago went through this as well. How many guys can we remove from this roster for salary cap reasons and still win Stanley Cups and still be an elite level competitive team? For me, and I think a lot of other people, and a lot of it was like a bad dump by Thomas Plekanec, but like that series against the Montreal Canadiens, when he scores that goal with like a second left, that to me was like, okay, when I think Tyler Johnson, that's like the signature goal. Tyler, we got you back. What goal do you think I was just referencing there a second ago? No. Let's get the audio going. We'll try again. We'll try again. Well, maybe it's just like my questions have been so stupid that the audio is like, yeah, we're not. My client's not going to answer that question.
I'm leaving open the possibility that I may have to just dub him like an old Japanese samurai film when he comes back. If his lips are moving, I'll provide the audio myself.
All right. Well, as we stand by here for Tyler Johnson to join the program, a particular note with him, a couple of the ex teams that he played for, and most notably then recently the Chicago Blackhawks, starting to make some noise here. I know we're still not a quarter of the way into the NHL season, but feeling like we're rounding that corner with eyes on next Thursday, U.S. Thanksgiving, or as I guess you call it, Greg, Thanksgiving. not that everything's going to happen next Thursday, but next Thursday is the first place where managers say, okay, I got a handle on my team. But this year feels different because there are so many teams that are still technically in it, even though some of the teams you can look at underlying numbers and say, it looks like they're in it. It feels like they're in it, but they're not in it. How do you feel about Thanksgiving this year?
I think you're right, and I think where we're going to really see it come to roost is in the Eastern Conference, where, I mean, if you look at the standings right now, the wild card standings in the East, among the teams not in a playoff spot right now are the Ottawa Senators, the Washington Capitals, the New York Rangers, and the Florida Panthers, and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, a few of those teams are going to be playoff teams, right? So, like, it's just going to be a matter of time before some of the teams that are currently holding down spots, and especially in the Atlantic, I think, fade a little bit. To me, I'm curious about Chicago in the same way that I'm curious about the Ducks, but I think the difference is that the Ducks are deeper in the case that both of those teams have been propped up by goaltending in such a spectacular way because of their underlying numbers defensively that you wonder if the dam's ever going to break. I mean, even last night where, Dostal gets the first star in a game where, the offense does its job against Boston, but it's still the goaltender that gets the first star. For a reason. And I think what Spencer Knight's doing for Chicago right now is nothing short of revelatory. And you wonder how long that can continue.
I just think that, I think a lot of us look at, the future of the Western Conference. And if you want to just go like goalie for goalie, I think we're going on the era. And, this is how goalies and goalie observers think of it. We're going to get into pretty soon here the Dostal versus Spencer Knight era of the Western Conference. And as much as we talk about Celebrini and much as we talk about Connor Bedard, and we're throwing Matthew Schaefer into that mix, I think one of the under the water topics, as far as the next generation of kids that we're not talking about, are those two goaltenders, right? Like we're looking at like an era that is about to be dominated by those two goaltenders.
I think you're missing one. I think Askarov should be in that conversation too with the way he's played in San Jose. It's quite possible they've found their guy. On a team that is as ascendant as Chicago is, or as ascendant as Anaheim is.
And the unfortunate thing, because the team around him isn't that great, although big win last night, and he wasn't in net. Calgary Flames with Dustin Wolf.
Yeah,
but it's going to be well. By the way, that had to be really nice for Devin Cooley last night to beat the team. To beat the team that was like, yeah. There's no room for you here. Yeah. Beat it. You're gonna be an AHL backup. And has a great game, and then delivers an even better interview after the game, where he channels his "We need to always be mindful of death." I can't remember the last time or any time we've ever heard an NHL player, goaltender or otherwise, paraphrase "Memento Mori," be mindful of death. After he just wins a game.
But if one position was going to do it, it would be a goaltender.
Oh,
do you think that the hole's too deep for them? By the way, that 341 points percentage, roundabouts 1 week before American Thanksgiving, they're cooked, right? The Flames.
They should be. Maybe that's one of the things we can talk to Tyler Johnson and his recovered audio about. You back?
Sorry, I think so. This is why I played hockey. Yeah.
Listen, we got it. Yes, we got it. This is great. All right. First of all, well,
TJ, I'm on so many damn Zoom calls with ESPN. Don't feel bad. There's always some guy that's muted. Don't worry about it.
Well, it's crazy. I tested Zoom right before this and it was working. So it was just when I came on to here. So I don't know what it is, but I'm not an IT guy.
Yeah, well, listen, if technology has failed you, Tyler, don't feel special. We've all had that exact same moment. So don't feel special. Hey, we were just before you came on, we were talking about a couple of things, and one of them was the Chicago Blackhawks. Looks to be making that turn now. You were there with Bedard. You've seen the kid. There's a lot of guys that are still on that team. Like when you look at the Hawks now, and you're not that far removed from them, obviously. And thanks for joining the show, by the way. What do you see? When you watch Hawks, what do you see right now as an ex-NHLer?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, Blashill went there as a coach. I think he's implementing some systems that's working for the team. And, all the young guys are making that next step. The older guys are have been teaching. I know when I was there, Foligno was there kind of leading the guys. He's still there. I know he expects a lot out of everybody. And, it's great. Bedsy's getting a ton of points, doing extremely well, but I think he's playing a more complete game. And I think that's coaching. I think that's evolving as a player. And I think that's kind of growing up a little bit. And it's really cool to see. He's a hardworking player, hardworking guy. So it's nice to see him get rewarded.
Bedard was interesting to me when he was younger because it seemed like he really took losing personally. It seemed like losing was not a thing that A, he was used to, or B, that he wanted to have to deal with as a professional. What was he like back then? When you were on the team, as far as his comportment in the locker room.
Gosh, you're trying to age me even more than I am. It was one of those things that we didn't want to lose in Chicago. Trust me, it was a really, really tough time. My 3 years there was very difficult with the way things were, and we were always trying to be better, always trying to do different things, but we were kind of limited in the way that things were working and what we could do. And I think it was a lot of frustration. I think Bedsy came into the league thinking, he's going to turn the ship around. And in the NHL, that's not really the case. You need a lot of good players on the team. You need good coaching. You need everyone to kind of follow suit. So I think it was difficult. I think he did a really good job, though. I mean, I've never seen a player come into this league and have so much pressure on him from game one. I mean, his first NHL faceoff was against Sidney Crosby. I mean, that's a pretty big ask from an 18-year-old. So he's done a tremendous job in that. Like I said, it's great to see Chicago back in the picture. They're an NHL franchise that needs to be in the playoffs. It's so fun playing that building with everything that goes on. So it's exciting.
Okay, I'm glad you brought up that face-off. I remember asking Crosby about it, the NHL Players Tour that year specifically, and he kind of shrugged it off a little bit. Oh, it's just going to be another draw.
I know.
There was, this is a vet, there was no way that Sidney Crosby was going to lose that face-off. And the way that he won it, that was like a laser beam. Like it leaves the referee's hand, and he wins it so clean and so hard. Like he probably could have scored on his own goaltender. The way he won that face-off back. Like, are you sitting there as a veteran? Is everybody on the bench, on the ice, looking at that saying, good luck, kid, because if there's a face-off that Sidney Crosby is going to win, it's going to be against Bedard tonight. Is that how everyone was thinking? Like, good luck,
yeah.
Connor.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we knew going into the game that Crosby's not going to let 18-year-old kid beat him. He's just so competitive, and let's just not sit. And I think that's what makes him great. But no, we knew that was going to happen, and I think that's kind of a welcome to the league moment. But at the same time, at least he got it on the very first second of his ice time. He didn't have to wait any time for it, so it was great.
I wanted to. You've played with some really, really good players in your career, and I wanted to ask you about one that I've always been curious about, which is your former Triplets line mate, Nikita Kucherov. We get to see certain sides of Kuch. I have a feeling that you boys got to see other sides of Kuch. What is the Nikita Kucherov that fans, media don't get to see that either makes him such an endearing teammate or makes him the guy that's this successful in this league?
Yeah, I mean, I know what he does in the media. I know a lot of media members don't really like him, but that's not Kuch. Kuch is a guy that he's goofy, he's fun to be around. He's he's just got that weird, quirky sense of humor that you're just around him and you laugh. So he's a guy, he's a tremendous teammate. He's always going to do everything he possibly can for you, and he works extremely hard. So when you see how hard a guy like that's working, one of the best players in the league, it makes you even work that much harder, and he expects that from you. And he just elevates the team, elevates every part of the team aspect, and he's just a great guy to have around. But like I said, he's quirky, he's funny. He doesn't get that out in the media too much unless after we win a Stanley Cup.
I was gonna say that's the only time we get to see it. And this is when he's pounding Bud Lights in the press conference room afterwards, or maybe he's on one of the boats. That's the only time we get to see it. But I had a feeling he's a bit more of a lighter spirit behind the scenes than we get to see normally. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely a little bit more reserved around people he doesn't know, or if there's a lot of people around. But once you get into that, little group, your team or whatever, he's funny. He's a hilarious guy. He's a really, really good guy.
He's the we've talked about this before. Like he's the one guy that if you ask players like who do you want to watch? Like who when you watch them like they do things that even as an NHLer they blow your mind. Kucherov's that guy. Once upon a time that guy was Marian Hossa. And one of the skills that Hossa always had is it was, there's the old saying, can't give a great player a bad pass. I would watch guys throw horrible passes to Hossa. He would never break stride. He would gobble it up and just continue on. It was amazing. Throw it in his feet, doesn't matter. He'll deal with it. Throw it behind, doesn't matter. He'll deal with it. Hossa had like that skill. Never saw him flub a pass. Incredible. Is there something that players watch about Nikita Kucherov, like one individual skill, where you guys all say, I can't believe that he did that? Or how is he just so good at this? Like he's the master of deception, first of all. But like, is there a skill that he has where you go, I've seen a lot of players, but I've never seen a guy do that?
I mean, I've probably said that 1,000 times in my career playing with him, but I think he has so many different skills. But the one thing that he's just so good at is he's so cerebral. He knows every single thing that's going on the ice. Like we used to say, you could basically blindfold him and he could play an entire shift, be able to find you back door, be able to find you through seams when he's not even looking. I don't know how he does it. Every once in a while, I get one of those lucky passes through, but for him, it's not luck. He's just got that skill. He's got that talent to be able to do it, and then he has a confidence. And I think that's just such an amazing quality that he's had since his first year there. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times I scored a goal where the puck just hit my stick, didn't even see it coming. It went through about 5 different people, probably curved around something. I don't even know how he does it, but he's just got that amazing knack of being able to find people in the right spots, and he just gives you gifts all the time.
I wanted to ask you an inside the locker room question because I don't know the answer to this. We were just talking about it before. I don't know if you saw the clip of JT Miller that's been going around this week of him going straight legged in the defensive zone for the Rangers against Vegas. People have focused on it. They're passing it around. Sean Avery did a breakdown of it on Instagram. It's the whole thing. I don't want to ask you about JT in particular, but I was curious, like when somebody gets called out for their play and it becomes a thing, that exists outside the room, but it gets inside the room. What's the reaction of the boys? Like, do you guys will go up to somebody and be like, hey, this is bullshit. We know what kind of player you are. Do you not talk about it? Like, what is the reaction when one of you gets called out for their play?
Well, I think it depends on the situation. I think it depends on the player. Is this something that's happened a lot? Is it something that the coaches, the players have addressed already? I mean, a lot of these times before it actually gets out into the public, it's something that, the players have talked about. We have our own meetings. The coaches have been harped on. There's so many times I remember in the past that, you do one thing wrong and Coop might put it on a loop just through practice the entire day. You end up seeing it about 500 times while you're getting dressed. So, I mean, it's just one of those things that you kind of, everyone knows what's happening. And, if you have that good team, the good teammates, a lot of guys come up to you and just say, hey, it's pretty funny. Just don't let it happen again. You almost make a joke out of it. But if it's something that keeps happening, then that's when you really have to address it.
That was a game against Vegas. There's one player on Vegas that I always wondered about with you and Joel Farabee and most recently Brendan Dillon as well. You had ADR surgery, as opposed to like a spinal fusion, which a lot of other players have had. Listen, Jack Eichel was the champion of that, right? And that was like a rift between him and the Buffalo Sabres. Buffalo obviously didn't want to be the team that had the first ADR surgery in their room, even though NFLers, Chris Weidman, MMA, all had it done too. When Eichel was going through that and really dug in his heels about ADR versus fusion, like how closely were you watching that? How closely were other players looking at that and saying like, this could affect me here? I need to pay attention to how this is going to play itself out. Like essentially, how much of a factor was Jack Eichel in your decision to have ADR?
Yeah, I mean, when it was first happening with him, I really wasn't paying much attention to it just because, I mean, I didn't have that problem. I didn't need to have surgery at that point, anyways. And, thankfully for me, once he did it, I think it was about a week before I even started looking into it. So it was relatively new, but we had the same agent. So we were able to connect. I was able to talk to him. He told me about all the research, everything that he's gone through to figure out just how confident he was in the surgery and what was going to happen. And then also my agent did a lot of research as well. So, once I heard all of that, it was a pretty much straightforward thing for me. I knew I was going to have disc replacement. I knew I wasn't going to do the fusion just based off, previous injuries that other people have experienced and what they've said the problems with the fusion that they've had. So I just kind of had to find, the right doctor to be able to do that. I was able to go see a couple different guys, find someone that was really good, and Dr. Bray there. And, once I got there, it just felt so normal. I'm so thankful that Jack was able to kind of go through it, kind of pioneer that, work hard to kind of allowing everyone to see that, this is the best thing for us, because I can tell you right now that, I'm way better than what I was even before I had the surgery. I mean, I was dealing with those problems probably for about 5 years leading up to the point of surgery, but I didn't realize exactly how bad it actually had gotten to until after I was able to get that surgery. And now I can do everyday activities. I never have to feel it. I never worry about it. It's just an amazing, amazing thing. And, I'm really thankful that Jack did it. I'm glad that more players are, kind of going outside the box and seeing different things, because, these surgeries are new every single day. And, it's going to help players down the road.
Yeah, imagine if Buffalo let him have the surgery. What could have been?
I think yeah. Before all this, but I don't think it made it any better between him.
I don't think it helped. I don't think it helped.
Didn't help. Didn't help.
I wanted to ask you about another former teammate of yours, which is Steven Stamkos. I mean, there's been so much discussion about what his future might look like with the way that Nashville has gotten off the blocks early as a team. But Stammer in particular, I mean, this is a guy who's been one of the best goal scorers of the last 30 years, doesn't seem to be putting the puck in the net with as much frequency as in the past. From your vantage point, what do you think about Stammer post Lightning and just where he is right now in his career?
Yeah, I mean, Stammer's a guy that works extremely hard. He's such a good teammate. He's a good leader. He's a guy that I would want on my team. And let's be honest, you don't just lose your goal scoring ability. He can still shoot the puck. He can score some goals. So I know he's going through a tough stretch right now. I think a lot of guys in Nashville are. I know that, what was it, last year they signed all those guys expecting big things, and obviously it hasn't really turned out that way. But I mean, that's just the NHL. Sometimes chemistry clicks, sometimes it doesn't. I haven't talked to Stammer as far as, if he's wanting to stay there or move or whatever he wants to do. But I know that wherever Stammer's at, it's a team that, desperately going to need him. He's a guy that every one of the teams in the NHL should have on their roster.
Do you want to text him now so we can break the news whether he wants to stay in?
Should we get some breaking news?
He wants to go to Montreal, boys. Go to Montreal. But before he came on, we were sort of running through a couple of highlight moments from your career. Man, and I know it was it's a bad dump in by Thomas Plekanec, and it bounces off Pacioretty, and there's 5 seconds left. Tampa Bay, Montreal, Game 3, 2015. Palat with an easy zone entry. Oh, I think it was over to Hedman, and then Hedman fed it to you with 1 second left in what's one of the biggest goals of your career. Did you know that at that moment when it went in, because it goes in and the buzzer goes like almost at the exact same time, did you know for sure that it was a goal? And in your mind, was that the biggest goal you ever scored?
Well, what's actually really funny about this goal is when I scored it, I didn't know that we were even down to the last 10 seconds or anything like that. I thought there was minutes on the clock. I had no idea. So that was probably a dumb move by me. So I thought it was a goal no matter what. But I was pretty thankful once we kind of figured out. I was like, oh shoot, that really was that close. So yeah, no, it was definitely one of the biggest goals. I think if I really had to look back, I think probably one of the bigger ones in my mind was against Detroit in that OT game, because if we would have lost that game, we would have been down in the series. And then we got swept the year before, so people were already a little upset from everything. And then going into that, who knows if we would have lost that series if we would have traded a bunch of guys trying to get different things. And, you know, if that would have happened, I think my career, everyone's career would have been a lot different. So pretty thankful that we're able to get that win and get the playoff series there and just keep on rolling.
You know,
Last
I'm
one for
glad
me. Go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry.
Jump in real quick on that sweep, because that was like one of the most stunning things of this generation. Everybody was shocked, and there was, you know, I can still recall, like, there were the rumors of, you know, Kucherov for Draisaitl, and Edmonton and Tampa are talking, and they've had it, and nothing happened, right? Like it's a tough pill to swallow, but it was essentially come back with the same team. What did you guys think was going to happen in the summer? Because I'm sure you heard all the same rumors that we all did too. What did you think was going to happen that offseason after that Columbus series?
Yeah, so I think what was a really good thing about you know, Steve and Julian is they pretty much just told us that nothing was going to happen and kind of squashed all the rumors to us right away, so we didn't have to worry about it. But we knew we were going to have to be better. I mean, we had such an unbelievable season, but going into that playoffs, we knew that we weren't playing our best hockey. And if you were to ask Coop, he was pretty upset with us for a big majority of that. We just weren't playing team defense. We weren't playing playoff hockey. And, you know, that year, Columbus, they start stacking up right for the playoffs. They're playing life or death hockey since, you know, the trade deadline. So it was kind of a big difference for us, was that we were coasting and they were already playing that playoff hockey. And unfortunately, it took us too long to figure it out. And, you know, it was a big lesson for us to learn. And the next couple of years, we really focused on the fact that, you know, we have to focus on our team defense. We got to focus on the way we play. We don't care about points. We're not trying to get 150 points. We're not trying to break records. What we're trying to do is play the best hockey possible coming into playoffs.
Yeah. Last one, and thanks for your time. I'm happy we figured out the audio thing because this has been great. Your first year was 2012, 2013, and it's kind of crazy to think about what hockey looked like then and what hockey looks like now, because in the span of just over a decade, man, a lot's changed. From your vantage point, what do you think is the most different thing now about the game than when you came up with the Lightning?
Oh, it's 100% speed. I remember coming in to the league, you'd have, you know, 2 lines, maybe 3 lines that can skate, you know, top 4 D-men that can skate. But then after that, it got, you know, a little bit slower. And nowadays, if you're on the roster, you can fly. I mean, every single player. And that just makes it so difficult because you can't clutch and grab anymore. I mean, I remember one of my first practices up in Tampa, we had Eric Brewer, who's an awesome guy, but he just basically made me like go skiing all the way down the ice just because that was the rules back then a little bit, right? So, I mean, it's definitely different. You need to have that speed. You need to have that team speed. And I think it's made the game a lot more interesting, a lot more fun to watch. And, you know, it was really fun to play, especially being a smaller guy.
Okay, let me ask one last quick one. As I believe the term is fresh meat or new meat. When you decided to call it a career, how many of your buddies' beer league teams called you to be a ringer? How many?
Actually, not too many. I think the one big one is back home in Spokane. They have a thing called the Classic. And it's like 64 teams, and I think they bring in about 300 kegs. So they're trying to get me to play in that tournament, but I don't know if I can do that. I played in it once when I was like 14 years old, just trying to, you know, play some hockey, and it's not my kind of hockey.
Well, listen, it's great to have you on the evil side of the equator now. Listen, congrats on a wonderful career, man. Were you fun to watch? And I go back to your Memorial Cup in Kitchener, and even that World Junior in 2010, and Norfolk and Tampa and Chicago, all of it. Like, just a delightful career. Really well done. Thanks for doing this. Hope to do it again soon.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, anytime you want me. Always available now. There's not too much going on.
Thanks, bud.
Just be like us. Just watch hockey games every night. What do you do for a living? I watch hockey games and I talk about them. Thanks. You be good. Yeah, it's beats working, bud. Beats working. Thanks, pal. You be good.
Yeah. All right. Love it, guys. Thank you.
There's Tyler
man.
Johnson, former NHLer. Yeah, the fresh meat phenomenon is always a fun one. It's like, hey, did you hear who retired? Think we can get him? We're like a D division beer league. He's not, if he's going to play anything, he's going to play top division.
It's kind of funny to think about. Like when he came into the league, he was probably. I mean, he was considered undersized.
Yep.
I mean, that's shifted, I think. And then we were talking about before that the reason he was no longer with the Lightning was because he was a cap casualty, much like Blake Coleman was and Barclay Goodrow was. Like all those grunts that they had on the lineup, they had to clear him out so they can sign the tippy top guys. And that's changed because now everybody just resigns. Adam Lowry, add him to the list. His stuff is there. Like no one's leaving. There's no reason to cut anybody anymore because the cap is so damn high. So it's kind of a scant few years after Tyler Johnson was basically evicted from Tampa Bay because he made too much money. Now nobody has to be traded. Nobody leaves.
Everybody now is just protecting their assets. Like that. That's all of it. Like there's room now, so you're just making sure that nobody leaves. Like that's what it is. This is just like accumulating jewels. It's just put his grab as many jewels, grab as many coins as you can, stuff them in a bag, and say like we're not letting these guys go.
But it's also the known versus the unknown. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, most of these teams, even if they're like 80% happy with the guy and they believe the grass could be greener elsewhere, 80% is still pretty happy. And if they have the financial wherewithal to keep them and not have to go find a replacement for guys in their bottom six, for example, they're just going to keep the guys they have.
Not untrue. All right, we got to get hustling here. Greg, what do you have available for us at the moment? ATM.
Dude, I've written a lot of stuff on ESPN the last couple of days, man. Yeah, yesterday was the NHL Bubble Watch, in which we used Stathletes to give us the playoff probabilities for all 32 teams. And that was really interesting in the sense of there are teams that are very high in the standings that underneath the hood, the analytics don't speak to them being playoff teams. Looking at you, Chicago. And then today was a really fun exercise that we do around about this time of year every year, which is I go back to my 32 bold predictions for each team before the season, and I give a confidence rating as to how confident I am that they will come to pass now that we're a quarter into the season. Now, that does mean that some of the predictions have finality to them. For example, Merrick, I regret to inform you that I don't believe Jack Hughes will play 82 games this year. That prediction ended up being, bold as it was, incorrect. That being said, your boy did predict not only would Kyle Connor re-sign with the Winnipeg Jets, Kyle Connor would re-sign with the Winnipeg Jets for Mitch Marner money. And by God, to the penny, that man re-signed for Mitch Marner money. So a tomahawk slam dunk from the foul line on the Connor prediction, a giant steaming pile of dung for the Jack Hughes prediction, who I didn't know he was going to go to a steakhouse in Chicago. But you can go and read the rest of the bold predictions and what I've gotten right and gotten wrong and where they're all trending on ESPN right now.
No more steakhouses, no more barbecues for NHLers. Bubble wrap your boys when they get off the ice.
If only there was a common denominator between a steakhouse and a barbecue. What do you find there? Obviously, just meat. Meat is the thing that you find in both. Nothing else that would be common between a steakhouse.
Come over to the green side. Keep it nice and safe. Come on over to the green side here with your boy and eat boring for the rest of your life, like me. You be good. We'll talk on Tuesday. Soldier.
Thanks,
dismissed.
everybody. Bye.
Greg Wyshynski from ESPN and ESPN.com. I got to hustle to wrap up the program today because I got a flight to catch. Stat of the day is a presentation of Uber Eats, and Zach has a good one. Uber Eats is enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app. From game day eats to paper plates and napkins if you're hosting to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip. Before, during, and after the game, Uber Eats is assisting every hockey fan's experience all season long and making better parents out of me and maybe you as well. Zach, how are you today, buddy? What do you got for us?
I'm good. I've got one here today for us. This one dates back a while. This one goes to 1934 on November 20th. Busher Jackson. If nothing else in the stat or anything, the name is pretty unreal. Busher Jackson.
That comes from an insult. That comes from an insult because he was too much of a prima donna to help the trainer pick up sticks. So the trainer said, "You're such a busher." I have no idea what a busher is. Oh, he got his nickname. Actually, true story.
It's like the hoser, where it's like, what the hell does that mean? It's actually pretty good. I like it. But Busher Jackson of the Toronto Maple Leafs scored 4 goals in a single period. It was in the third period in a 5-2 win over the St. Louis Eagles. Second time in, I think, 3 weeks here, the St. Louis Eagles being brought up. He was the first player in NHL history to achieve that accomplishment of 4 goals in a single period.
So he was on the kid line with Charlie Conacher and Joe Primo, one of the best lines in the early days of the NHL. First thing, a thought on the St. Louis Eagles, as you mentioned this, they've come up a couple of times. So the St. Louis Eagles have their origins with the Ottawa Senators. That's where that organization moved, and after which it was mothballed, although there was some talk, we talked a lot about Ohio today, about moving them to Cleveland. That didn't go anywhere. There was talk about taking them back to Ottawa. That didn't go anywhere either. And just so, listen, it's a matter of NHL history. That rink, the old St. Louis Arena, where the Eagles played for one season, was the only, to my knowledge, and I hope I'm not incorrect on this because I'd hate for them to be two, that was the only racially segregated arena in NHL history. Eagles are only there for 1 year, but the St. Louis Blues had the only racially segregated rink in the NHL. Here's the thing you got to know about Busher Jackson. Busher Jackson partied hard. Busher Jackson off the ice lived really, really hard. And that's why he essentially passed away in squalor. He lived hard, he drank hard, all of it, to the point where, I mean, listen, he was one of the best players in the NHL and for a significant amount of time too. But bluntly, he drank it all away. And he spent all of his money on booze. And teammates, fans, like everybody tried to encourage him to stick money away. Like, save it for a rainy day, save it for your future. Hockey is not going to last. How many times have you heard me say this one, Zach? Hockey will never love you back. Stick money away. It got like so bad that Conn Smythe, the owner of the Toronto Maple Leafs, offered to match dollar for dollar anything that Busher saved. And he still said no. And he still just continued to party his face off. That was, unfortunately, the sad story about Harvey Busher Jackson, who in his day, to your point earlier, Zach, was just one of the best players in the NHL on probably the best line in the NHL with Conacher and Primo, the kid line, for your Toronto Maple Leafs. So essentially what I'm saying is Busher Jackson, although he was a better skilled player than Derek Sanderson, he was the original Derek Sanderson, who essentially did the exact same thing in the 70s off the ice, to which Busher Jackson did off the ice in the 30s. Essentially, it's a long-winded way of me saying the guy partied and partied a lot. That was Busher Jackson. We're going to finish up with you again, Zacharoo. The sheet is powered by FanDuel. Play your game with FanDuel. The PWHL finally returns this Friday, November 21st, and FanDuel is your home for all the action on the ice until the Walter Cup is lifted. Minnesota's in action, by the way, speaking of which, against Toronto. Seattle faces off against Vancouver. From Blue Line to Bet-Slip, FanDuel has you covered with PWHL feature markets, game and player props, same-game parlays, live betting, and novelties. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook today and play your game. Please play responsibly, 18 plus, and physically located in Ontario. If you have questions or concerns about your gambling or the gambling of someone close to you, please contact Connects Ontario at 1-866-531-2600 to speak to an advisor free of charge. What are we wrapping up with today, Zach?
So as you just said there, PWHL is back, and I just wanted to highlight this over on FanDuel right now. Obviously, games return tomorrow and then continue on throughout the weekend. So FanDuel's got odds listed for those games. You can see the games for Friday night here up on screen as of right now. Toronto at Minnesota, plus 108 for the Scepters, minus 130 there for Minnesota. Seattle and Vancouver, showdown in Vancouver. Vancouver favored -128, Seattle +106. But it's not just the games that are listed as well. I wanted to bring attention to some other stuff there, Jeff. You can bet on the MVP as of right now, the defender of the year, the goaltender of the year, the forward of the year. They have all different markets listed. They have Olympic stuff. It's all up there for women's hockey. So if you want to get involved that way, FanDuel is the place to do it.
We might see an expansion team win the Walter Cup. Like, Vancouver's stacked, dude.
Well, you and I talked about it. The day they announced it, the two favorite teams was to win this year was Vancouver and Seattle. Like, the day they were announced, who was on the teams.
You thought the Vegas expansion draft was kind to the expansion team. Look what the PWHL just did. They may have handed their ultimate trophy to an expansion team. We'll see. A lot of hockey, obviously, and glad to see it get underway. Tomorrow we'll do more coverage as the games continue, and then we'll cover both the women's and the men's side as it relates to the Olympics when that gets closer and closer. Great stuff, Zach. All right, I got to hustle. Thanks so much for joining me here today. I know we had the day off yesterday. Was a busy one for your boy, trying to sort out paperwork. I had a paperwork day yesterday. So thanks for hanging in there and coming back today. We're back on the air tomorrow at 1 o'clock as well, 1 o'clock Eastern, here on Daily Face-Off YouTube channel. So from the Monumental Studios in downtown Washington, bidding you good afternoon. Thanks to Tyler Johnson for stopping by. Thanks to Greg Wyshynski for stopping by as well. Thanks to you for listening. Thanks to you for watching. Thanks to you for paying attention, even if it's only for a couple of moments. I understand that I cannot be consistently interesting for that long, but thanks for hanging in there. Please subscribe to our Daily Face-Off YouTube channel. Subscribe to our offerings on audio, on video, and all of it. So we will join you again tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern, for The Sheet. We'll talk to you then. Jeff Merrick along with you. Hope you enjoyed the program today. If you did, or maybe even if you didn't, they can't all be gems, folks. Please hit the subscribe button. Also a reminder, every morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, Johnny Lazarus, Colby Cohen, I call them the Impact Players. You might know them as a tandem that makes up the Morning Cup of Hockey. Also DFO Live at noon Eastern. This year, your host Tyler Yaremchuk alongside Carter Hutton. Full day's worth of programming right here on Daily Face-Off, your favorite YouTube hockey channel. And as a reminder as well, Zach Phillips, our producer here for The Sheet, said if you subscribe, he'll buy you a puppy. It's true.